All right, hello. We are going to go over MLA style parenthetical citations and works cited page. So let's get started here. Parenthetical citations. First of all, it's important that you know what they are. So parenthetical citations are notes that you put in parentheses that let your reader know what original sources you used in your research paper. So anytime you're talking about something that refers to or is quoting a website or a book or where you got your information from, you put parentheses there to let the reader know where you got that information. Okay, so parenthetical citations need to be used both when you're quoting a piece of text, so when you put them in quotation marks, word for word, and when you're paraphrasing a piece of text. So when you're just talking about something that you learned from another source. So whether you're quoting word for word or you're just referring to something that you learned from another source, you have to give credit where you got that information. Okay, so that both is going to be a big deal for us. All right. If there is an author, you must use the author's name in your parenthetical citations or in the paper. You must give credit to the author's name. Okay, the author of a source is always mentioned either in the text or in the parenthetical citation. It does not have to be in the parentheses, but you do have to mention the author's name, in other words. Okay. You can use the author's name in a single sentence to introduce the material, and then you just need to give either page numbers or the web address if it's a website. Here's an example. So this came from a book. Dr. Pope was clear to point out that although many of his ideas were idealistic, Rousseau held ambivalent feelings towards women. Notice in parentheses, all I have here is a page number. Because I mentioned the author's name in the sentence, I don't have to put the author's name in the parentheses. I just put the page number there. Now, if this had been a website, I would put the web address there or the title of the web page. Okay, so now if I don't mention the author's name in the text, then I have to put the author's last name and the page numbers in the parentheses, in the parenthetical citation. Here's an example of that. Again, this is from a book. During World War I, British and American women could, for the first time, earn first-class pay for first-class work. Notice, in this sentence, I do not mention the author anywhere. So in the parentheses, I have the last name of the author and the page numbers that I got that information from. Notice this is not a word-for-word piece of text. But I did not know until I read the source, I did not know that British and American women could, for the first time, earn first-class pay for first-class work during World War I. That is information I got from this book. So I have to give credit to that author and that source. All right. If the information is only for one sentence, so you're only quoting one sentence or you're only using one sentence to refer to a source, then your parenthetical citation should go before the period, like this. Notice parenthesis, parenthesis, and then the period. That tells us that this source is only for this one sentence. Whereas, here's an example. Dr. Pope was clear to point out that although many of his ideas were idealistic, Rousseau held ambivalent feelings towards women. Notice the parentheses are before the period. That means that this source is only for this one sentence. Whereas if I put, but I do not have to put parenthetical citations for every sentence. If I have multiple sentences that I got information from the same source. So if my entire paragraph is from one source, I do not have to put parenthetical citations after every sentence. I can put a a parenthetical citation at the end of consecutive sentences, at the end of the paragraph, at the end of 3 sentences. And then the way that you show that your citation is for multiple sentences is you put the parentheses after the period of the last sentence that you are getting information from. So notice this example is multiple sentences. During World War I, British and American women could, for the first time, earn first-class pay for first-class work. This was a major shift that would eventually lead to the women's rights movement. Because that's multiple sentences, all from this one source, I am putting that source, those parentheses with that source information after that period. So I would start my next sentence here, okay, and there's no period here. All right, so that's how you show that that source is for multiple sentences. If the information in an entire paragraph comes from one source, you can do your parenthetical citation at the end of the paragraph. So you do not have to do it multiple times in a paragraph as long as all of the information in that paragraph came from the same source. If there's no author, then you use the title of the source instead of the author's last name. If there are no page numbers, so for example, if you read an article online and there were no page numbers, then you would say what type of source it was. So for example, if I'm using information from the video Shakespeare in the Classroom, I would put in parentheses Shakespeare in the Classroom, which is the title of the video, comma, and then video. Okay. Now, your bibliography or works cited page is the list of sources that you got that you used in your essay. Now, this is any source that you referred to, whether you quoted it or not. Any source that you got information from in order to write that essay needs to be on this list, this works cited list. Okay. Citations on your works cited page should be alphabetized, and you reverse the indentation on your works cited page. So the first line is left aligned, so all the way to the left, with all the remaining lines indented underneath. You do not double space your citations, so even though essays typically are double spaced, your citations are single spaced with a space between each citation. Okay. The works cited page or bibliography is usually a separate page located at the end of your essay. So, if I am doing a citation for a website, I'm going to put it in this order: the author's last name, then a comma, first, period. Okay, author's last name, comma, first name, period. Then in quotation marks, I'm going to put the title of the website, period, and the period goes inside the quotation marks. Okay. Then I'm going to put the copyright post date, and then a period. Then I'm going to put the date that I accessed that information, the date I got that information, and then a period. And then finally, the web address goes in what we call these carets. These carets, kind of like sideways triangles, show that this is a web address, and the period, and then a period goes at the very, very end. So here's an example of a works cited, of a citation. I'm sorry, your works cited citation for a website. So the author is John Doe, so last name Doe, comma, John, period. The title of the website was How to Write a Citation, so that is in parentheses with the period at the inside the parentheses. The date, the post date was February 14th, 2018. So in citations, typically you would put the date. So this is Valentine's Day, the 14th, and then the month goes in the middle, February, and then 2018. By doing it this way, you don't need any commas to separate information, to separate the date from the year. So the month goes in the middle. And then a period after that. The date I got this information from was March 28th, 2019. So I would document that by putting the date first, 28th, March in the middle, and 2019 with a period after 2019. And the web address, notice is there's a caret, and then I put http://www.madeupwebsite.com caret period. So this is how I would create a citation for my Works Cited page for a web address. Okay, so let's look at what this would look like with multiple sources. So here I have 3 different sources. I have the textbook that I got information out of. So the not author, this is not the author, this is the publisher, Appleby, Arthur N. McDougall Littell is the name of the website here, or the name of the textbook, The Language of Literature. And then my next source is my website by John Doe, How to Write a Citation by John Doe. Notice last name goes first, and there's that website information. And then finally, here's my video, Shakespeare in the Classroom, directed by John Madden, performed by Gwyneth Paltrow and Joseph Fiennes and Jeffrey Rush, Miramax Films, 1998 DVD. Okay, so what I want to point out about the Works Cited page is these are in alphabetical order. So starting with whatever word comes first. So usually that's a last name of either the author or the publisher or something like that. In this case, Shakespeare in the Classroom being a video, it starts with the title. But whatever word comes first, Appleby, Doe, Shakespeare, you are putting that in alphabetical order. Notice these are single-spaced. The citations themselves are single-spaced with a space between each citation. Notice that they are the first line is left aligned, and any extra lines that I need are indented. Okay, so notice the video citation takes 3 lines. The first line is left aligned, and the 2 lines underneath that are indented to the right. Okay, a great resource if you're not sure how to cite a particular website or a particular article or video or source, a great place to go on how to cite things is Al Purdue. And here is with this video, I will be uploading the slides that I'm going over right now, and you will have this link on the last slide there. So you can refer back to any of these slides at any time. If you don't need to hear this whole video again and you just want to look at the Works Cited example, or you just want to look at how to do a citation with not mentioning the author's name, a parenthetical citation without mentioning the author's name in your essay, then you can look at whichever source you are wanting. All right, good luck. Please email me if you have any questions.